Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Carly Bell, and I love to do machine embroidery tutorials. And today we are working on the sew along we've been doing for the past, well, close to 2 months, no, month and a half, of the Kimberbell Candy Corn Quilt Shoppe featured wall quilt. And today we are going to be putting together the borders for the quilt. So there is a skinny inner border that's going to go around this, and then a wider outer border that we're going to put all around. So today we're going to be quilting those borders, and that is actually all done in the hoop on your embroidery machine. So it's a really cool process. If you did the Oh So Delightful sew along with me earlier this spring, you kind of got a little taste of the process. I actually went back and watched the tutorials from Oh So Delightful to refresh my memory. But I think it's going to be very cute and fun. I think this one's actually going to be slightly easier than Oh So Delightful because the quilting is not as prominent, so I don't have to worry about things lining up as nicely. But that's what we're going to go over today. So as a reminder, this is what the finished quilt looks like. And that is the orange and black borders going around there. That's what we're going to be working on today. So good morning, everyone. I hope you can all hear me okay. Hey, Stacy. Let's see. Oh, my mom's calling me. Let me tell her. Can't talk. Okay. Hi, Gloria and Dee and Becky and Christine. Christine, I got your email. I'm so glad she's all caught up on making all the blocks. So I'm excited that you're here and working on this with us. Let's see. Hi, everybody. Okay. So any questions before we get started today? As a disclaimer, I am not as prepared as I wanted to be. I wanted to actually have some borders already sewn and add on to it so that maybe we could even add the borders to it today. But of course, you know, life and is always crazy for me. So did not get all the things I wanted to do yesterday done. So we're going to start from complete scratch. I didn't even cut my fabric yet. So you're going to get to see that whole process from start to finish. Also, I wanted to, let's see. Now, for those of y'all that like watch me all the time, tell me if you find this camera looks, not that one, this one looks better than what it usually does. It probably looks the same, but I got a new camera. And the fancy thing about this camera is it came with a remote. So when we're doing stuff, I could zoom in. And let's see, and it focuses and I can move it around and everything too. So that it maybe works a little bit better for us. So we'll see. But I'm having a lot of fun playing with it. But silly things like this make me happy. All right. So hopefully that is better. And like I said, I have a focus button, I got a zoom button, and a bunch of other buttons I don't even know what to do with, but I'm just using the arrows and the zoom. And it turns on my TV every time I play it. I touch it. That's crazy. This is my TV remote. Every time I press this remote, it turns on my TV. That's funny. Okay. So yay. I'll happy. It makes me happy. So all right. So we have, these are the fabrics for the borders. So we're going to need, this one's already cut. And I think it's already cut to size. We don't even have to cut this one. This one's at 4.5 inches. This one we don't have to do nothing with. This one we're going to cut in 1.5 inch strips. And we're going to be making 4 strips. And one thing I want to go over with you real quick is that the borders are going to depend on the length of your quilt. Now, approximately, I don't even know where it's supposed to be. So the finished quilt size is 40 by 40. So if the outer border is 4 inches, is that right? Yeah, 4. The inner border is 1, so that's 5 inches right there. So 5, right? But 5 at the top, 5 at the bottom. So this is approximately 30 inches finished. And I think mine actually comes to that, because when we did Oh So Delightful, it was a smidge off because I'm not the best at piecing things together, but I guess I did a better job on this one, or it's not as hard to mess up. So my quilt is probably a little smaller than it should be. So right in the middle, it's 30. And I'm probably supposed to be 30 and a half. Let's see, this way, and I need to make it to where, let's see, my snap presses, eek, making it not lay flat. Okay, let's try this. This one is like 30 and an eighth. So I'm a little bit under what it should be. I think it should be closer to 30 and a half, but that's fine. We're going to make whatever your finished quilt is, you're going to calculate how much border you need based on what you have. All right. So we're going to start with the inner borders on this side. Okay. So my inner border needs to be at least 30 inches long, and I'm going to make it longer to have some wiggle room. When we actually piece it together, we're going to be piecing these sides where they meet perfectly at the top and bottom, right? That is going to add an inch. Once we sew it, it'll be 1.25 inches. So this top skinny inner border will include that in its width. So we'll measure again, but we'll assume 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches, that's 2.5. So when we do our top and bottom border, they will be let's see, I'm trying to hold this right. Normally people have this like on the floor measuring, not hanging from a wall. So I have about 30 and a half on the bottom here. What I said, 2.5. So 33 inches is the least amount I need for this border. So I'll probably make like 35 again to have some wiggle room. So that's approximately how much we need. Now, when we do the borders, we're doing them a small section at a time, but we will cut ourselves one long continuous piece of fabric. And what we'll do is we'll hoop like up to here, quilt it, take it out the hoop, re-hoop it, and there's an alignment method to where we'll float it right on top, and when it re-hoops, it'll look continuous. Okay, just like we've kind of did with the clear blue tiles, but the borders are done a little differently. We don't need any clear blue tiles. We don't need any kind of template. We're just going to continuously re-hoop this strip until we've got quilting all the way down and we have, more than enough. And then we'll cut it down the sides once we have our measurements and add it on and square everything off at the end. Okay. So the outer border is already cut for you, and we need to cut our inner border strips. So I am going to iron this. Let me turn my iron on. Okay, let me check the chat real quick. Vanessa, I love you. She says my camera is dope. I love that. Okay. Lori said she stayed up past her bedtime last night and got all cut up, but unfortunately I noticed I had wrong section in wrong place. Not sure I'm going to take it apart or leave it as is. Girl, leave it as it is. It is fine. I did the same thing for Oh So Delightful. Guess what? It still looks great. Nobody knows I put, one place in a wrong section and whatever. Like, no, it still looks great. The way that this quilt is, like, it doesn't matter if I, as long as it's square in the end, that's the only thing that matters. But like if I switched, something like the dress form and this tombstone, like it, as long as the size and everything ends up being square in the end, That's perfectly fine. Nobody needs to know that the original sample had this in a certain place or whatever. You switched border blocks around, whatever the case may be. Does not matter. As long as it's square in the end, you're fine. Don't worry about taking that apart. I would focus on keep moving, you know? All right. Leslie, are you planning on doing any more kits? Yes, our next sew along is going to be this guy right here. This is Candy Cane Lane. There's lots of candies. I get confused. But this is a cute bench pillow from Kimberbell. We will be starting on this, but I have not planned it yet to figure out when we're starting and what the schedule is and all that good stuff. But this is the next Kimberbell project we'll be making in November, December. And then I do plan on making this one after. This is Quilting Through the Seasons, and it's a ladder quilt. And we'll start this after the new year, sometime early spring, January, February, March, somewhere around there, depending on, you know, I have a lot of other projects going on, but I want to make this one after that. So yeah, that's what we're going to be working on the next couple quilts. Yay. Okay, so let's iron this. And normally I get nervous about this kind of stuff, but I'm going to leave it. So this is folded right now, right? I'm going to leave it folded and measure and cut my strips while it's folded to make it the cutting process easier. Let's see, I think I ran out of water in my iron, so I'm going to spray some on here to get some steam action. But you want to make sure this is nice and ironed before you trim your strips. And then I guess I'll iron this crease out after. And you should have more than enough fabric. I was looking back at what I did for Oh So Delightful, and the strips call to be 1.5 inches thick. And I think my test run for Oh So Delightful, I made it bigger just to be safe. And it ends up, it works better if it's actually 1.5 inches perfectly. It's going to fit right in the placement line. But the difference between this and like the border blocks we've done is that usually, you know, your placement line and then the tack down line is like the same exact spot. For the borders, the placement line, you know, will fit right here, but the tack down line is like a smidge in so that it makes sure to grab the fabric. So it's best to actually cut it what it says. All right, so 1.5 inches. Let me get my bigger ruler, hopefully without knocking my quilt down. Okay. And I'm going to do it this way. And the end might not actually be square. I might have to trim the end to make sure I get a nice square. I might do that first just to make sure I'm starting on a good thing, because it looks like it's a bit off. Okay, let me do that first. Okay, got that going. Now, 1.5 inches. So this line right here. Good. All right. And that gives us our 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. And the final width will be 1 inch. Okay, there's one. Ah! I hate when you got those little teeny tiny spots. Probably need to change my blade. I bought some more blades too for Prime Day, I think, but I have not put it on. Okay. I think that's good. 1.5 inches. Okay, that's good. I think I hold my breath when I cut fabric because I'm always scared I'm cutting it wrong. Okay, one more strip. Okay. And you got some left over in case you mess one up. You probably got enough to do 1 or 2 more. Yeah, probably 2 more. So save that in case I mess something up. All right. Now we have our inner border strips. And there's a few ways that you can go about. I'm going to go ahead and iron these little creases out while my iron's hot. There's a few ways that you can go about rehooping this. And it's all, the process is going to be the same no matter what hoop size you have. But the larger the hoop size, the less hoopings you'll have to do. For example, on the, if you have the Stellaire like me or a similar machine and have a 9.5 by 14 hoop, you can hoop all 4 of these strips in one hooping and do them in 14-inch sections, right? So you could do all 4 of them and then rehoop and then do all 4 of them again. If you're working in a 6 by 10 hoop, I think you could get 3 in a hooping, but ultimately you have to do 4. So it kind of makes more sense to do 2 in a 6 by 10 hoop and then another 2 in a 6 by 10 hoop. I think you can also fit 2 in a 5 by 7 hoop. But again, the smaller the hoop, it's going to be the shorter the section that you're going to be able to quilt and then rehoop and do another section. I've also done it in the past where like I'll start with a larger hoop, but like my ultimately, like we said, the longest that my strip needs to be is probably 35 inches. So like if I did my calculator, and we have to look it up because even though the design size may say not a 14 inches long, when we open it in Brilliance, it may say it's 13 and some change. So we need to use the exact measurements, but we're just going to guess 4. So 35 divided by 14. So I would need 2.5 hoopings. So I could do 2 hoopings in the 9x14 hoop, and then I could do another hooping in the 5x7 hoop for just an extra 7 inches. Or I can just make it much longer than what I need to and just trim it. So you just figure out what's going to work best for you. So now I am going to move y'all. Okay, so I'm going to show y'all in Brilliance now. Any questions about fabric prep? Oh, the other thing I forgot to tell you is batting. So they're all going to have batting underneath. And I am liking the whole pre-cutting my batting to be the exact size. So I actually cut 1-inch strips of batting. Now, every time we hoop, our batting will only fit the length of where we're working. It's not, the batting's not the same as the fabric where we need a long strip of fabric that's continuous. The batting's going to be broken up into pieces. So as long as you have a strip that is long enough for the spot that you're quilting at that time, and then the next time we hoop, the batting's kind of like pieced together on the back, right? So I just cut random bits. I do have some long strips of batting because I just used the piece that I had, and I will just trim them as I go along depending on the hoop size I am working with. So I have 1-inch pieces of batting, and then I have not cut yet because of me, again, not prepared. I need to cut 4-inch strips of batting as well for when we get to the outer borders. But let's focus just on the inner borders right now, and then we'll get to that. So let me get my screens right. So I got something else. I got a whole new thing going on here, which y'all would probably think I'm crazy if y'all saw. But I got a screen so that I don't know if, again, y'all even notice these kinds of things, but usually when I go to show y'all my computer, the screen looks super crazy for a minute because of my program. Now that won't happen anymore because we can do this. So now you should just see my new screen over here that's on the side that, again, y'all can't even tell. But it makes me a lot happier because I feel like I can maneuver better. But I have in Brilliance open, and on here I was playing with it. This is the 9.5x14 hoop, and you can see that I have 4 strips of the inner border quilting can fit in this hoop. And I actually already sorted it and everything. So this is the pre-sorted one. So if we look closer, each, and I deleted a piece already. So this is the batting placement step. And then they had a batting tack down step that I deleted. That's the same exact shape and spot and everything. This is your fabric placement. Now watch when we zoom in. So you see that's the fabric placement. Watch the fabric tack down. You see how it's a smidge in. It's like 1/8 of an inch in from this one. So that's why we can cut our fabric to be the perfect width. And then this is going to tack it down. And then this is the quilting. So what I did was I just copied and pasted that 4 times in the hoop. I made sure each step was a different color. And then I hit utility color sort and got a new view. And so now we see this. And when I go to my objects panel now, all the batting placement steps are there, all the fabric placement steps, all the fabric tack down steps, and then all of the quilting. So that's what I like to do when I'm stitching multiples. So question for you real quick. We have done this whole process in a 6x10 hoop or smaller. Would y'all mind if I used my 9.5x14 hoop for this one, or do y'all want to stick with a 6x10? Because I'll show you that process real quick. But it doesn't matter to me, whatever y'all want to do. So I'm going to open up a 6x10 hoop, apply. Okay, zoom in. And over here are my designs. So this was in my quilting bundle. And when you open up your quilting bundle, you are going to see that, let's see, where was this at? So this was my quilting bundle, and right here it says Border Halloween 2. When we open that, the instructions are helpful, so I'm gonna go ahead and open that up so I have them. But we're gonna go to embroidery files, block by block. You can still use these for clear blue tile, but we're doing block by block. PES, my format, and then these are all the files. Now you'll notice up until, I think it's only the first 4 files are the 1-inch wide. So all of these files are the same, except they're in different lengths. So this is 1x7. This will fit in your 5x7 hoop. This is 1x10. This will fit in your 6x10 hoop. We have 1x12. This will fit in an 8x12 hoop. And then 1x14. This will fit in the 9.5x14 hoop. You can use all 4 different hoop sizes depending on the overall length that you need to like mix and match these together so that your final length is what you want it to be. You don't have to stick to one hoop size the whole time unless you're only working with a 5x7 hoop. Then you're just going to keep rehooping until you get it to be long enough for your overall border for that piece. Okay, after that, this is your outer border. I'm pretty sure. Let me open it and double check. No, that's still an inner border. That's still the candy corn. Okay, so you also have the option of, instead of doing a skinny inner border, you can make it a little bit wider. And so you have 2-inch. I think it's, let's see, 3-inch looks also like the same. Yes. So I can't tell from looking in so tiny. So when we get to 4-inch, that's the other quilting design for the outer border. All right, so now that I've looked at this better, you have 3 width options for your inner border. You can make them 1-inch, 2-inch, or 3 inches wide. This is totally personal preference. You just have to make sure you cut your strips like I just did to be a 1/2 inch bigger than whatever size you pick. So if I would have picked 2-inch, I would have needed 2.5 inch strips. So I've already cut them, so I am limited now to 1. But you do have options there if you want to play with it. For your outer border, no matter what width you pick, you're always going to have 4 length sizes, and that's for the 4 different hoop sizes, from 5x7 all the way to 9.5x14. Okay, once you get to 4 inches wide, that's when the pattern changes. This is the pattern we're using for the outer border. Again, the outer border comes in a variety of widths, 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch if you want a really thick outer border. And then, of course, for each width, there are still the 4 lengths so that you can fit them in any hoop size. So the only difference here is once you get to 6x7, if you want to do a 6-inch wide, you will not 5x7 hoop. That's when it's going to be too wide for your hoop. And this will only work in a 6x10 hoop. And it may even be a little too big for that, you see. So even in a 6x10 hoop, the 6-inch wide border is a little too wide. But yeah, I just wanted to show you all your options. But let's go back. Okay, let's make a new hoop. It's 6x10. If I wanted to do my inner border, I could do this one, 1x10. And I can see here that the actual length is not in 10 inches, it's 9 7/16. So it's almost 9.5 inches long. So I would use this to calculate how many hoopings I would need in order to get the total length that I wanted. And when we look at this, you'll see the step that I deleted, which is this one. This is the tack down batting. If you're not cutting your batting to fit exactly, you're going to want to keep this step and then trim your batting here like it was an applique. And then your fabric placement, fabric tack down, and then your quilting. So what you can do with a 6x10 hoop is move it over. Again, I don't think we can fit 4 of them, but let's try. Let's see. Now I'm going to go to copy, paste. And because your fabric is fitting perfectly within these blue lines, it's okay to have them so close together. Let's see, paste again. Ooh, I don't know if we'll make it. Paste again. See, they're a little too, we'll have to move them all over a smidge. I think we could make them fit. They'll be like right next to each other. You see those blue lines? That's going to be the space in between each of your strips. You could make it work. You can do 4 in 1 hooping if you wanted to. Oh, let me go back to the comments. All right. Okay, so I have several of y'all saying to just go ahead and use a 9.5 by 14 hoop. Okay, so process is the same no matter what you're doing. You're just going to get less hoopings, and like in this case, I got a little more space in between my strips. But I think this is perfectly doable if you want to do 4 of them in a 6 by 10 hoop. It's going to fit. You're barely going to have a strip of space in between each of the strips, but it shouldn't interfere with nothing, like I said, because your fabric will fit perfectly within these blue strips. And your tack down stitch is inset from the blue, so you won't accidentally be sewing on this strip's fabric while you're doing this one, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to do the 9.5 by 14. I already have this where I deleted the one step I don't do, the tack down the batting, and I have it color sorted. So this is ready to go. So I have my USB plugged in, so I'm going to go to File, Save Stitch File As, click on my USB, and it's Candy Corn Quilt Shoppe Inner Border, and I'll do 9 by 14 just to remind me. Oops, I cannot spell inner. There we go. All right, and save. And then I need to eject my USB stick. All right, so any questions on setting up the border now in Embrilliance? Almost any option that you use, you're going to be able, especially with the inner border, if you're doing the 1 inch, you're going to be able to stitch multiples. So you're going to want to make sure each step is a different color, because you know some of them have the same blue and the same orange. Just make it a different shade so that your machine won't sort them, the program won't sort them together before we send it to the machine. And then you can do it all at once, which you're about to see. So I need my 9.5 by 14 hoop, which is ginormous. Let me get it. This guy. I'm going to need a giant piece of, this is when the muslin really helps, instead of using the poly mesh as stabilizer, because I would go through so much stabilizer using that hoop. Okay, so I think this muslin might already be cut. No, it's not. Okay, so I'm going to use this as my stabilizer. And then I have my strips of batting and my strips of fabric. And we're also going to need some glue, maybe some spray adhesive, also some paper tape. Something else I forgot to mention is I'm going to do the border quilting in orange to kind of mesh with the fabric. You can do it in a contrasting color if you want to. But the tone on tone is very forgiving if you don't match things up perfectly. So like, for instance, the, let's see if I have a picture. The Oh So Delightful. Can y'all see that? I don't know how to zoom in, but this yellow inner border, the quilting was in black, and it's a ruler. It's like tick marks on a ruler. That really stood out when I did not line things up correctly. It's gorgeous. I love the look of it, but I also love the fact that this one's going to be more forgiving because it's going to blend in. And I'm going to use black for the outer border. But again, if you want to use a contrasting color, it'll really pop. It'll be fun. Also things that are fun for these are variegated threads. When you're doing that continuous quilting, variegated thread colors are fun as well. And now I'm tempted to go look to see if I have an orange variegated thread. Let's see. I got a little variety box of, oh, I do. You want to use this one? This is fun. What do we think? I'll feel focus. Let's go to this camera. Y'all see that? Maybe it would be fun to do this on here. Now, for this one, it's like the print on it is a variegated pattern, right? So, oh, you know what? I forgot. I wanted to iron Pellon SF101 on the back of this. Oh, and I wanted to iron it before I cut the strips. I just realized that. But anywho, you can use whatever color thread you want for this one. I like that the pattern on the print of the fabric has a variegated thread look. So it'll be fun to give this a variegated thread look. So yeah, I think I'm going to use that. Okay, now I talked about this in Oh So Delightful. I have done border quilting before with no Pellon SF101, and it came out fine. For the sake of time, I'm really tempted to not iron it on here. But let's see. Okay, so y'all like the variegated thread. Why did you delete the batting tack down stitch? Elsa, because I cut my batting strips to be exactly 1 inch wide so that I don't need to tack it down. This is when I use my glue. This is just like with every other block that we've done. I've cut my batting to fit in the block perfectly, and I skip the batting tack down stitch and go straight to the background fabric. And I'll use a glue stick to kind of hold it in place once I have my placement line. Okay. Ooh, I love this. Christine uses glow in the dark thread for her quilting. And I did buy some of that. I wonder if, where did I put it first off? I bought some for another project I wanted to do. And let me look and see if I could find it. Is this it? Yes. Okay. I bought glow in the dark. That would be fun as well. This is my glow in the dark box. All this is from Amazon. This is Bro Thread. This was the variegated set. Comes with a bunch of different colors. And this was the glow in the dark. And they got a bunch of colors. But I don't think I'm going to like any of these colors when it's not. I really still want it to be black. So I don't know if it's going to take away from the pattern if I do this. So I think I'm still going to stick with black for that. But if I had a more orangey color of the glow in the dark, that would be fun for the inner border. Okay, I'm going to stick with this for the inner border and black for the outer border. All right. Now, do I want to iron Pellon SF101 on the back of this? Let's see. I'm going to do it because I did my whole rest of my quilt. No, I'm not going to do it. Let's see. Let's try it without it. It's going to be fine. The quilting is not like so, dense that it's going to really pull it in or anything. I think it'll be fine without it. Let's try it. Okay, so we need to hoop our stabilizer. Okay, make sure you line up your arrows. With these bigger hoops, I do find that these side areas don't allow you to be as tight. And even if you screw this in, it's like with your fingers, like this is the tightest I can get it. Sometimes that's when a little tool, like a flathead screwdriver, will actually allow you to get even tighter. But I think this is good. All right. And because we're just going to be rehooping in a way that is not, what's the word? Continuous, like we have to rehoop and rehoop and rehoop. I'm just going to go ahead and trim this. Because it's not going to save me anything. Usually I'd get a little bit extra space, but I got all this extra fabric here. I need to get out of my way. Okay, so I got this giant hoop with my lightweight muslin. Trying to make it taut, but here we go. All right, and then we're going to bring our strips of batting and our strips of background fabric and glue and maybe spray adhesive too, and then my pretty thread. Okay, so let's go over to the machine. I need to turn it on. I need to grab a USB stick. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and load. Now, what I did want to remember, I don't remember if I used the water soluble thread for the borders for that tack down line. I don't think, no, I didn't, because you can see it on some spots of my quilt where it's black. Okay. They have almost like a knot in this thread, keeping it. There we go. I'm gonna just use this thread for all my steps, just to make life easier to stop, not switch thread colors. And here's my borders. Okay. And what's going to happen is I want to make sure my machine is as close to the edge of my table as possible, because this hoop is so big that it's going to go way back here. And I have a windowsill there so that it goes further than the wall, but I want to make sure it doesn't bump anything. So I'm going to pull it as close to me as I can here. All right, and then when I put my hoop on, the embroidery arm is going to move because it's going to detect that it has a bigger hoop in. Watch. See, it says the carriage will move because it detected it's got a bigger hoop. Okay, so that is on there. And the first step is the placement for the batting. So we're going to lower the presser foot and go, and it's going to stitch all 4 of them. Okay. And let's see, while that is stitching, I am going to go back to Embrilliance and let's set up the outer borders. Okay, so let's open, so I'm gonna do the 4-inch. I should be able to get 2 of these. So let's open this one and let me change my hoop size to my big 9.5 by 14 hoop and zoom out. Oh wait, I'm in stitch artist mode. Stop that. Here we go. This one. Okay, so select this guy and push him over all the way that I can. And then again, I'm going to delete the batting tack down because I don't use it. These two are the same color blue, so I need to change it. So I'm going to click the color chip and just pick a different color. Doesn't matter. So now we got blue, light orange, turquoise, as long as they're all 4 different colors. Now I'm going to copy, paste. Nope, undo. I need to have this selected. Select it, copy, paste. It pastes right on top of itself, so you're not going to see it super obviously. Let me zoom in. Okay, I got a nice bit of space, so I'm just going to push this guy over with the arrows on my keyboard so that it's right on the edge, so I have some good space in between there. And let me push this one over. Okay, yeah. Oops. All right, so now I have, let me move this guy up too, it looks like. Move a little bit. Okay. So yeah, that looks good. I got 2 of the outer borders and 1 hooping. All the steps are different colors. So now I can go to Utility, Color Sort. I reduced 4 color change. I'm going to go to New View. Now, when I look at the steps, I got the placement, the back, the fabric placement, fabric tack down, quilting. There we go. Okay, let's go back. So now we have all of the batting placement stitches are done. Let me back up so y'all see like how big this hoop is and how much room it takes up. I'm going to go back to my table to glue this because I need a good big flat surface. But I can already see the variegated fabric is fun. The variegated thread. All right, let me move some things. Okay, and do I need to zoom out a little bit? Y'all can see. All right. And let me grab all my batting and just see what works. I also don't know where my glue stick is. Right in front of me. Glue stick. So it's a little harder to see with the variegated thread, but I got these little rectangles. And I am just going to add my glue. Try not to drag the fabric too much because like I said, I find it's the bigger the hoop, it's harder to get your fabric tight. Okay. So let me see. I got all these different lengths. I can go. So all of these are the same. And then I got some shorter ones. That's long too. Let's see. But all of these are too short for this. Save that for a different hoop size. So I'm going to use these. So we're going to stick this right in the box that it's in. And I can go ahead and cut it here because it just needs to fit in it. It doesn't need to be continuous like the fabric. And I'll use this for a different piece. Okay. Okay, so now we got all of our batting strips right in place. Now there is a spot where the presser foot is going to drag right over this and this. So to keep it from accidentally catching, we're going to tape each of these down and we'll just pull the tape off after. And that's just to keep the presser foot from catching. Now remember, if you're using a smaller hoop than me, all of this is exactly the same. Everything we're doing. Your strip may be shorter than mine. Okay, so that is done. So now we're going to go back to the machine and it's going to stitch the placement line for the actual fabric strips. And it's basically just going to be an outline around these batting pieces. And you can see when my hoop goes all the way back, it just touches my curtains back there, but they have more space. So I don't have to worry about it bumping. Because if your hoop bumps something and actually has a good enough bit of pressure that it knocks it, it can make your whole hoop and design out of alignment. So if you're ever stitching something and you walk away and you come back and you notice like you had a spot where your underlay was and then your satin stitch is like off to the side, or if you did an applique and then you are going to do your satin outline and the satin outline is like off, it may be because your hoop bumped into something and the alignment is off. The way to fix that is if you loaded your design on the machine and you did not move it. So say you just, like we did with this one, I loaded it. I didn't move where the design was on the hoop. I didn't go to the move area, the layout, any of that stuff, right? What you can do is just turn your machine off, turn it back on, and it will reset the embroidery arm to where it's supposed to be. Then some machines have a callback feature where it's like, do you want to pick up where you left off before you turned off this machine? And I could hit yes, and it will literally go right to the last spot I was stitching. If your machine doesn't have that feature, just reload the design, go to wherever you navigate through your design on here. Mine is the needle plus minus, and go through the steps or go through, keep hitting the plus 100 or 1000 stitches until your needle gets to the point where the alignment started being wrong and you stop stitching, and then it'll pick up right where it left off, and then it should be in the right place again. Okay. So that's that last bit. I'm thinking about the next step. So I'm going to take this tape off. And then I think I'm just going to use a glue stick, I think, on the back of this. Or maybe spray adhesive so that it actually stays where I want it to. All right, so let's get this tape off. This is a little bit aggravating and tedious, but we need to do it. Because I don't want this underneath, but it should tear just like tear away stabilizer. But again, I'm trying not to put too much pressure on my stabilizer because could not get it super tight in the hoop. And if it doesn't tear easily, then go ahead and use some scissors and cut it. And that should come right off. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do that to keep it from putting too much hair on my stabilizer. Okay, it's fine. It still has a little bit. And I could actually leave it there. It's just off the batting. I want to get it because this is end up going to be trimmed and none of that tape will be in it. So I'll do that instead of worrying about it. Getting it all off. I just need this section off. All right, Becky has a good tip too. We can take note of the stitch number when something goes wrong. Take note of right where you are in the design. And you can navigate that. So she said, make note of the stitch number you're on and go to that. When I was learning, this lady used to write it on the stabilizer so she'd know where to go back to. That is brilliant. Just jot it on the stabilizer. Okay, so I got the tape off in the spots where I needed it to be off. Now the question is, do I want to use spray adhesive or just glue? Let me try the glue and see if that works. Okay. And it's okay if I go above it because I can trim it after, but what we're doing is just smoothing that out on there. And then what we're going to do is tape the top and the bottom. And this time it won't be where it's going to stitch, so I don't have to worry about, it'll be easy to pull off. There won't be any stitches through it. So something like that. Okay. There we go. And just rinse and repeat. Okay, and the last one. Okay. All right, so now it's going to go do the tack down stitch on here, which will be right inside the edge of this fabric. And then we'll do the quilting. So how does all that look? Y'all see that? Okay. And then we have all our extra strips just hanging off. And then next time when we do it, we're going to move this whole bit up and you'll have pieces hanging on this side that are already quilted. Okay, so now we're going to lower, and I'm going to keep a stiletto handy to make sure it doesn't get caught up on anything on accident. But I think it should, yeah, it's going right on the inside. And it's going to jump because you don't want a stitch line across this because you are going to be moving this up and catching right on where you left off. Same thing here. It's not going to have a line going across the bottom and the top because it's going to be a continuous piece. All right, and yep, now it's going to go do all of these, same thing. Yeah, and as long as you have those strips right inside that placement stitch, your fabric's going to catch right where it's supposed to be. All right, I'll just fill it over there. While that is stitching, I'm going to cut batting because I don't think any of my strips are going to be long enough for the next hooping unless I do them in a 6x10 hoop. Let's see. So I open the 1x10. It is actually 9.5 inches long. And I got strips that long, let's see. Yes. Not this one. Not this one. Yes. Yes. Okay. I got 4 strips that would fit in the 6x10 hoop. Or I could just, I still have to do another 9.5x14 hoop. So let me just go ahead and cut some of those. Because what I said, that is actually 14 inches long. The 9.5x14, my final strip length is 14. So if I do my calculator, we did this already, yeah. I need 2.5 hoopings. Or what if I did 14 plus 9.5? I need 11 more after that. So I still can't do 2 6x10 hoopings. All right, yes, I'm gonna cut strips for that. Okay, it is done with the tack down for all of them. So now is the quilting. So now will be the test if this, I did not put Pell on SF 101 on the back, but I think it's still going to come out fine. I would have put it though, if I would have remembered and I wasn't in such a time crunch. So this is going to be a preference thing. If you have the time and you have it, I think it ultimately always makes your quilting look crisper. But if you don't have it or you forget to put it on like me, it is not the end of the world. It still looks good. Okay, it's just doing the little candy corn flower petals with the variegated thread. I think the variegated thread is cute, but because when it does get to the orange bit of the thread, it does blend in a lot with the fabric. It doesn't stand out as much that you could tell that it's variegated. But we'll see how the final look is. It's still cute. Yeah. All right. Well, is stitching. I am just going to trim some batting over here. Yeah, Cindy, if you haven't cut your strips yet and you want it does not hurt to add the tail on. It will give you crisper quilting, I think. So yeah, I had intentions of adding it, but I'm in a rush and I forgot. So I'm literally cutting my strips 1 inch and they're longer than they need to be. Because I'll just do the 14 inch, but that's fine. I think I need to go find some more batting to be able to cut some 4-inch wide strips. Okay, so all right, so we got our 4 more strips for the next hooping. And this is all the batting I have left. So let's see. If I do the 14-inch hoop again, I should be able to get some 4-inch. A different ruler. Where's my other ruler? I know I had a big ruler. I have lost it. Here it is. Big ruler. Let's see. I cut this piece off. What is this piece? This piece is a little bit more than 4. And now I can do 4-inch there. All right, so then I just got scraps. I might be able to do, this is enough for a 10-inch hoop. If I end up using the 6x10 hoop. With this. Okay, so this would be for a 10-inch hoop if I need it. It's extra. And these are my 1-inch strips. Okay, I'll go back to the machine. So now y'all can see what it looks like variegated. So you see like some spots will blend in, like right here it blends in, and then it goes to a brighter color and then it blends in and so on. But the variegated is cute. So you could just see how it changes. All right, so this isn't bad at all. Without counting, with just the stitching, without counting the time it takes to glue and lay and tape everything down, the stitching time is only 16 minutes. And I'm getting 4 strips done. And then I'm gonna get another 4 strips. And then I'll have a little bit left over that I still need to quilt. All right. So Becky says she thinks these thinner border pieces, it will be just fine not to have SF101 on it. So should I go ahead and iron SF101 on my outer border pieces then? Because I have time now. I'm waiting for this to finish stitching. Maybe I will do that and see how they come out. I'll be the guinea pig and see how if there's a major difference between them. I got a new bolt of SF 101. I think I ended up finding the best price on Amazon, and it was around $40 for the bolt. Okay. And let's see how it works. Maybe what we'll do is we'll cut four, let's see. That's what we should do, 4-inch strips and then put them right in the middle. Or we could do 4 1/4. These pieces are 4 1/2 inches wide. So if I cut my strips 4 1/4, they'll fit right on the inside. And what we'll do is they will be about 20 inches long, and we can piece them on the back until they cover the whole thing. So let's do that. I cleaned off my craft table a lot, but I still got a lot of junk in the way. Okay. So first we need to start with a nice straight edge. That's good. It would be helpful if I actually trimmed it. Okay, now I will measure 4 1/4. 4 1/4. This line right there. And I could iron this on the inside of this, like so. And then I'll just cut another piece and iron it to the rest. It's okay if this is pieced on the back, just like it's okay for the batting to be pieced on the back. The only thing that needs to be continuous is the actual strip of fabric. Okay, so we'll just cut, let me see if 2 strips make it good. So if I do this one here, yeah, so 2 strips gets me almost all the way to the end here. So I'll need 8 of these to do my 4 pieces of fabric. Are we done? We're done with quilting. Okay, so we'll pause with this and get this off the machine. Okay, so here are our 4 inner border strips, and this is when I can start like reusing tape. So I'll like stick it to the edge of my table and save it for the next one. Okay. And we can take this out the hoop. And what we're going to do is we're going to trim this stabilizer right at the edge where it stopped the tack down step. Like that, okay? And then we will trim all the strips out so that we're just left with the quilted strips, just like when we were doing it with the blocks. And a simple way to do this would be to trim right on the placement line. Yeah, should be good. Okay, so now we should have, if my rotary blade worked, we should have all these strips. That are now quilted, like so. I'll get all this out the way. And again, if y'all want to see the variegated thread quilting, you see how it changes. And it stops here. So on the next hooping, when we have to place our fabric in the placement stitch, what we'll do is we'll fold this over, put it in the box where the placement stitch is, get everything lined up and good, and then we'll fold this back. And the new stitching should take over right where the old stitching was, and then do another length of a section, if that makes sense. All right, so in order to do that, we need to rehoop, more stabilizer, and do this over again. Yeah. And this is one of my little tools that came with my multi-needle machine, and you see how I can turn that and make it significantly tighter than I could with just my thumbs. Like I can't turn that anymore. But if you get some, like even a quarter or something to turn this, you'll get it to be much tighter. All right. It doesn't have to be pretty. I'm just getting rid of the extra. All right, so we have this, and we don't need to do anything to the machine, but just restitch what we had on it before. So it wants to move because it doesn't know the big hoop is on there. Now it's going to move again. Big hoop is on it. All right, and we're just going to stitch again. So starting from the beginning, this is going to be our batting placement. And it will go and do that. While it's doing it, I will continue to trim Helon SF101 pieces. So that I can add it to the inside of, on the back side of my outer borders. And those will look nice. All right, so what I said, 4 1/4. Taking my tape with me. I really need to locate with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make 3 more. Six. Cut 1 more. Actually, cut 2 more, and then we'll move on. 7. 8. Okay, so that is all trimmed. Get this out of the way. And time to add our batting strips to our hoop. And cut batting strips. Here they are. And I'm going to glue them in place. And then also tape them. Okay. Now just trim them to size. Okay. So now they're all where they need to be. And tape. Okay, so that is all where it needs to be. We'll go back to the machine and it will stitch the placement line for the fabric strips. And then we'll remove that tape and put our fabric right where it needs to go. And this is when you'll see how the multiple hoopings work. And again, this is for you for no matter what hoop size you're doing this or how many strips you're doing at one time. All of this is going to be the same for you. Okay. Thank you, Sherry. All right, so I'm going to get my iron warmed up and start adding the Pellon to the back of these wide border strips. While that is stitching. And this, my friends, right here is the whole reason why I have this protective thing on my iron, is because you don't want to know how many times when I was getting everything ready for the Oh So Delightful Sew Along that I had this turned on the wrong side. So it's going to be hard for you to tell, but this side is woven. It's just like a woven fabric, right? This side has a bumpy adhesive. Again, I don't know if this is something you can see on camera, but you can feel it, right? And if you have the adhesive side up, it will mess up your iron very much. And I did that way too many times, which is why I now just keep that protective thing on my iron all the time. So don't be like me and iron it on the wrong side. But I'm just lining this up on my border fabric. Let's see. This is not a selvage, so I'll be able to go to the edge of this. And add the interfacing, which is what we've done to every other piece of fabric for this quilt. But with these strips, it definitely would have been better for me to add a big piece of this to the back of that fabric and then trim my strips. That's what I had planned on doing, but I totally forgot. So, but I think it's still cute. But your quilting will be crisper with this. It's not the end of the world. But I did want to do it. I had intentions. Okay, so we'll add on another piece, but in the meantime, this is done. So now we have, this is the part you want to pay attention to. This is the part where we add on to the strips we've already started. Okay. And we are going to get to the part where is new and just the fabric again without any quilting on it. And basically this line right here, you want to line up with the top of your placement stitch line for each one. Okay, so that we get this where we want it here, and then we flip this over, and it's going to pick up right where it left off for the stitching. Okay, that's what we want to do. But I do want to add some glue. Okay. And we'll fold it and line it up. At least right here. And put it right on top. And that's going to get this spot right where I want it. And then I'll just lay this down where it needs to go. And I'll take one of my pieces of tape I already used and tape that end. And you still want to tape this end up here too. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody on how we've got this bit already quilted? This is the meetup point right at the top of these placement stitches, or your batting is. That is where you want it to pick up. And then just smooth that down and tape it into place. Oh, you know what? I forgot to remove that tape. Oh, well. Let's see. Again, being a guinea pig with like, oh, it's okay if these things don't happen. Let's see. Okay. I got some of it out of the way. That's fine. I didn't tape this one. If I didn't tape it, then I can do this. Okay, that's still right where it needs to be. Tape it in place. Okay, fold it over. Line it up with this top line. I'm like pulling on this as I do it so that it like stays nice and taut. And then tape in place. All right, last piece. Okay, and then tape everything in place. And you should be good to go. So next is going to be that tack down step and then the quilting. And we'll see as soon as it starts the tack down step that I have lined it up right here. You know, we'll see the continuation of that tack down step and see if everything looks like it's aligned correctly. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks beautiful. Yeah, you could see it at the top. It looks like it picked up right where it left off. And now you see why we didn't have that any stitches there. So once we unhoop this one, you're not going to be able to tell that it wasn't all stitched together. So there's that stitch line, and this one lined right up with the other one too. And so now it will go do that for all of them. Yeah, lined right back up. Let's see if this one does. Yep, beautiful. All right, while that is stitching, I'm going to keep adding interfacing to my outer border fabric. So I got this one, and I'm just going to meet it right up like that. I got it on the right side. I'm so paranoid about that now. All right, so now this border piece is all interfaced and ready to go. Lay that on the side. Get a new piece. You think it would be really hard to mess this up, but I did it when I kept ironing it on the wrong side. I may have been watching TV while I was doing it. That could be the culprit. Okay, get a second piece. Line it up. Oh, no worries, Denise. She said she's barely ironed her SF-101 to cut her pieces yet. She hasn't started embroidering yet. That's no problem, girl. That's why we're doing this, and everything is recorded so that you can go and do the steps at your own pace when you have time. No biggie. It's always going to be here for you. All right, so go back to the machine. We're done with all of the pieces, and let's see if I could zoom in, if you could really see where, like, up here is the last stitch of the previous stitch out, and right here is the new stitch of this stitch out, and you can see like it runs on all of them. And you'll see it better once I take it out the hoop. But now we got everything tacked down and we're going to do the quilting. So I'll just keep preparing my outer border while that quilting is happening. Okay. Cindy said she knows the feeling. She ironed right on the side of the fabric a few times because she wasn't paying attention. Yep. So I was like, I may or may not have been enthralled in a TV show. Because I remember when I was preparing for Oh So Delightful, it was the first time I did it, cutting all of that fabric and all of that SF 101. So it was a lot for me. And I was doing it like at night. It took me several days. And I got hooked on this show on Netflix. And I remember I was watching it in my craft room while I was doing it. And that may have been the reason. And that was before I got this cover. And what I was doing was I was taking a piece of parchment paper and I had it literally on both sides. I had it underneath the fabric and on top of the fabric. Like I made a sandwich with it. I folded it and I put my piece because I was getting SF 101 on my ironing mat. Even if I had it going the right direction, sometimes it why is this piece shorter? Okay. Where am I? Table. So this must be, you know how one border piece is going to be shorter than the other? This one must be one of them because the other pieces I did 2 strips. I had a little bit left. But I guess these last 2 pieces, they're a bit shorter. So 2 strips is even longer than what I need. I just wanted to show you that. But I find between now that I did the Oh So Delightful was my first quilt, first prep, first everything. We did Main Street celebrations after that. And now this one, like I feel so much more comfortable doing all the prep work. So if this is your first time doing a quilt, this project, and the prep is intimidating and you feel like it's taken forever, it gets better. I could say from my own experience now. Let me cut this. I'm trying not to get this on my mat. It gets better and it gets where you feel more comfortable doing it and more efficient. Because I definitely can say that now that this is like the second big project I prepped for and the third project overall because the bench pillows are not as bad. It gets better. Definitely gets better. Where's the last bit of fabric? This one. Okay. So I don't know how far we'll get today, but I'm letting this finish and maybe we'll get this hooped and started. But you know, to do the second hooping of this wider border is going to be exactly the same as doing the outer border, the inner border, like what we've done. Okay, what's wrong with my hands? The color looks off on my camera. My hands look blue. Okay, and Cindy says it looks normal. Maybe it's the settings on your screen. Because I was like, no, I just got a new camera. It's supposed to look better. Because I had a lot of trouble with my old camera with the pink underneath throwing. When I showed black stuff, it changed the color of everything to look crazy. But I'm hoping with this new camera, it likes it better. I also got some new lights above so that the lighting is better. Y'all can see. And I can see because I need it. I need all the light when it comes to doing projects. All right, I will cut this one before. Let me get this ironed and then I'll cut it. Let's see, 100 proof quilter. She's been worried since she only has a 4x4 hoop. Well, we have a friend that has been doing the sew along with us. Her name is Loretta, and she also has only a 4x4 hoop. And some of the past videos, we did go over how to adjust things for a 4x4 hoop. But the project, Kimberbell will tell you you need a 5x7 hoop. But Loretta and I have found a few loopholes to make the 4x4 hoop work. But where I'm going to tell you the 4x4 hoop is not going to work is the borders. Because you can't even, the smallest border size is 7 inches long. And that's not even going to fit in the multi-positionable hoop for the 4x4 machine. Loretta has been splitting the design so they fit in her 4x6, 4x7 multi-positionable hoop. And she's made it work. A few appliques didn't line up perfectly, but like I say, good enough. All right, so this must be the side borders. I'm looking at the orientation. But yeah, I would say I wouldn't even bother trying to quilt the borders if you are making this full quilt with a 4x4 machine. I would just let it be pretty fabric. Don't even worry about quilting it. Maybe still add the interfacing on the back so it'll be nice and crisp. But I wouldn't even worry about quilting it. Because to be honest, you're barely going to see the quilting on here. It's not going to be like super prominent. Okay, I'm looking at, oh, I like the way they cut this. So look at the orientation. You see the witches are up and down this way. On my longer piece of fabric, the witches are flying across. So they cut the fabric so that when you have your borders, like say this is your corner here, the witches all look like they're flying. Their head is at the top and their feet are at the bottom. You know what I mean? So like that's going to be the top and this is going to be the sides. So that's how the outer border is going to look. I like that. I like that they cut it like that for us. Very nice. Okay, so I have all, let's see. Oh, there's Loretta. When you attach the length to the width strips, when do you sew the two together in the corners? Okay, so let's do a pretend quilt with scraps. Okay, let's say this is my square quilt. Okay, first we are going to attach the sides, inner borders. And then we're going to trim this where it fits perfectly up and down. Okay, pretend I cut that perfectly. We're going to add our side borders first. Then we're going to add, see if these work. Nope. We are going to add our top and bottom. So we're going to sew, right sides together and then fold out and iron. So that's going to be like that. So this will be one solid piece now. Then we will sew the top and bottom borders across here and trim it. I'm not going to trim these because I need to use them. Trim it to where they are square on the corners here and here. Does that make sense? So that's where they won't be mitered. They're going to be straight across, but that's how the borders are going to work. And then that's going to be your inner borders. And then you're going to do the same process for your outer borders. You're going to make what's going to be this one for me. Huh? My witches that are going up and down. I'm going to put my outer border here to here, and it's going to fit it perfectly from top to bottom. We're going to sew right sides together, flip it over, iron it. That's these guys. Yep. And then once that is done, and pretend that's not there, from there down, now we have a length here we will measure. And we will take our tops and bottoms. And again, sew right sides together, flip over, and then trim it, square it off to where everything's like that. Does that make sense? And this will go across the whole bottom. So this will be your seams here and here, here and here. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm going to get that far today because I have to have all of the borders quilted in order to start piecing it together. So if I don't get it done today, the beginning of our next class, we will do it before we start to add the backing. But let me know if that makes sense, this little representation. Because like you'll cut, you'll sew, and then you'll flip and press. And then you'll sew. Again, right sides together. Sew here, then flip and press. And then anything that's not square, you're going to use your ruler and square your corners, and then you'll move on to the outer border, same procedure. Okay. So we are still, oh, we're just finished. All right. So now we can take this out and see how our quilting caught right on where it was supposed to, right here. Yeah, right there. That's pretty cool. Okay, let me move some things. All right. So to really see, I would say right here is a great spot. Let's see. So you kind of see this little knot right here. That's where it took over. This is where the new stitching started. So this is the old stitching. So you see how it lined up? And you can't see it good because it's orange, but this is the swirl of the last bit of border quilting. And then the flower picks up right after it. And like this one, that's the last bit of stitching. That's the new stitching. This one's shifted a smidge. This one has a little bit more space between the swirl and the flower. And these look better, I find. So you can see like how here you can see like there's a little bit of space here before the flower and the next one, which I think looks great. So that is how the continuous quilting works. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna, this tape is not very sticky anymore, so I probably only get a couple uses out of it. And unhoop. I'm glad the borders made sense. She said, great explanation. I'm glad that made more sense. Okay, so this is I got glue, so there we go. So now I'm trimming these right where the stitching stops. So I could see like the stitch line, and I'm just cutting right on side of it without getting any of the pieces down that are holding the fabric tacked in place. Okay, so we got that off. And now it's just trimming. Again, but maybe we'll leave this alone. And let's get the outer border. ready to go. Let's do that. So while this is stitching, I can trim this. Okay, that is not wide enough. This is wide enough. See if I can still hoop this with the stuff underneath. I still got a flat surface, it should be okay. Okay. Yes, I have this hoop super tight as far as the screw goes, and I could still pull the fabric and it shift. These sections like here and here are super tight, like I can't pull anything there. But over here it's just not. It's so hard to get it. It's very still loose right here. It's hard to get it tight all the way around. The bigger the hoop you get, the harder it is to get it to tight. That's when the magnetic hoops are very helpful, especially for quilting, because then you know everything is snapped and you have a good strong connection even in the spots where it's weak on these normal hoops. Okay, so make sure I'm not cutting anything I'm not supposed to be. Okay. And we saved. Where's my, I need to go get my USB stick. Plug it in my computer. Where's my thing? Here. And go save what we made in Embrilliance earlier. Yeah. File, save, stitch file as on my USB stick. Candy Corn Quilt Shoppe outer border 9x14. Save. And then eject. And now I can put this. Oops. Ah, I hooped. I hooped my piece of my border in there. Let's see. So, unhoop it. That's what I get for laying it on top. Okay, you get out of there. Let's try this again. Okay. Now that's good. Back to the machine. And my USB stick. One day I'm going to figure out what's wrong with my Wi-Fi and why it's not working. Because normally I can send my designs Wi-Fi to this machine, but I messed something up that I need to figure out. Okie dokie smoky. Outer borders. There we go. Set. Embroider. All right. Everything's exactly the same. It's just bigger. So we're going to stitch the batting placement first. And while that is stitching, I will trim my other inner border strips. I need to check. On Abigail and Chris, because she was not feeling good today and he took her to the doctor for me. which I'm very thankful for because I would have had to postpone this class and then we would have not finished this quilt before Halloween. So I'm very glad she happened to be off today and could bring her. But I think she just has a cold, but she's been in bed for like the past 3 days. So she needed to at least go to the doctor and have them check her out. And we can get a doctor's note for school. Okay, I don't know if y'all want to see this, but oh wait, no. We need to do that first. Okay. Let's go get that. There we go. And I got boxes here. And oh geez, my glue is like, oh, it's drying up. I think that's a problem, and it's becoming a little bit more gooey because of it. Try to spread that out a little bit so it's not so funky in one spot. All right. It'd help if I put the top on the glue, probably. Okay. Now, where is the batting I cut for this? Because I've just thrown everything on the table. Oh, willy-nilly. There we go. All right, here's the batting. And I cut it 4 inches wide so it fits in my box. There we go. Now it fits. Okay. And I am going to put some long piece of tape over this. I probably actually only need the tape right here, to be honest. I'll watch it and see how it does. That's the spot where it catches. See how it does with that. And if it catches, I'll stop it and put tape across here too. Okay. Let's go back to the machine. And next it will stitch the placement line for our fabric. So I'm going to watch it while it does this. It's right here mainly is where you need the tape because it will go and catch in that corner. Right there is usually where it gives me trouble. But everywhere else, yeah, it's no problem. I probably could just get away with only stitching the bottom right corner without it catching on anything. Maybe this one too. Nope, not even this one because the presser foot's going to touch it. Oh, it's hitting. I never had that happen before. This little bar with the black bit was just right on top of that. I guess because I pushed the design all the way to the edge. I never had that happen before. Maybe it's not pushed down all the way. Okay. So now that we got this, we are going to lay our fabric. And I think I'll do some taping, but I don't think I'm going to worry about the glue because this one has the interfacing on the back, it's going to lay a lot nicer, and it's not. I don't think I have to worry about actually trying to glue it to the batting like I was the smaller pieces. So I'm going to go past this upper line just a smidge. I need to take it off. It's too big to try and do right there. Do it right. Okay, so I want to remove tape. Let's remove tape. All right, so everybody following along okay? Everything making sense now that you're seeing it in action? Let me know. Okay. I have to tape out. I'm going to use more tape. And I want this way. So I'm going to pay attention to orientation. These are my side borders. So I'm going to do those together first. Do a corner on the corner. And I will spread hold that in place. Okay. Again, I'm going to pay attention because my hoop is on my craft table sideways. So this is the top and this is the bottom. So I'm paying attention to my witches. The quilting itself is like you can go any direction. So I don't think it's not directional, but still just to be safe and make sure things are going the direction that they're on the quilt. Okay, I think that is good. Now I need black thread. I just remembered this is a different thread color. So let me go ahead and put that on now. Okay, and now we'll do the tack down. Yeah, so it's inset just like 1/8 of an inch from that placement stitch. And then it will jump over and do this side. All right, everything looks good. And you can see where your fabric, that this little bit of space I got in between each of my strips. When we were setting up the 6x10 hoop, I think it had less space than that. You could see where it should not be a problem of them being so closely spaced to one another, because your fabrics literally go into that line. So you could have these two lines right next to each other and nothing should be in the other one's way. Ooh, I found this tack down line barely caught the fabric. I don't know why. Like there's some spots here where it's a little off, but this should be fine. Okay, so now we're gonna do the quilting. All right, and this is gonna take about 11 minutes. And it's like a spider web, then a spider, then a spool of thread, and then it wiggles around and goes back. So it alternates between a spider web, spider, and a spool of thread. And really, this is just going to give it a quilted look, but it's not going to stand out at all with this black thread. So if you want it to stand out, do white thread, then you'll see every detail of the quilting. But I like the variegated look of the pattern of the fabric on what I got with my kit. So that's what I want to stand out. If you are doing your own fabrics at home, the white would, even if you did solid black as your outer border and do the quilting in white, I think that would be super pretty. Okay, now while that's quilting, I'll get back to trimming my strips. Okay. Oh, Loretta's helping us with the 4x4 stuff. Let's see what she says. She shrunk the 1x7 to fit the repositionable hoop. Okay, so she actually adjusted the size so that it fit. And as long as she keeps that consistent, that's not a problem. And she's able to do 3 at a time. Beautiful. I'm so glad. I could probably go on in Brilliance and work through how to do that. But let me trim this first. And then I can hop on in Brilliance for anyone else that is using a 4x4 hoop and needs help. I am just using the stitch line that was the fabric placement stitch as a guide of where to cut the stabilizer. I'm just making sure I'm not actually cutting. Oh, excuse me. Okay. I really need to locate where those blades are. I did that one better. Okay. obviously I can end up doing that. And then I just need to disconnect it here. And they'll all be separated. Okay, there we go. So now all of those are done. I could just probably do a little bit better job of trimming right on or next to that placement stitch line to get it looking good, but that's it. So here are our inner borders. You can see where I can do a better job of trimming. So I'm probably going to go clean these up after. And then I still need to quilt the rest of this. So that is the inner borders. And I love that you cannot tell where the new stitching happens. Like it just looks like it's going. And I like the variegated thread. I like the little pops of lighter color throughout. So I think that looks very cute. And now for those that are interested, I could try to show you what I think Loretta is doing. So let's go to my other screen. And all right, so let's open up the 1x7. Okay, and now let's change the hoop. So she only has a 4x4 machine, right? So if I'd opened up the 4x4 hoop, you can see how that does not fit. However, she has a multi-position hoop that here, the 100 by 172. So it's about 4x7. Let's see how that looks. And we can see how that is just a smidge longer. So we could zoom in a little bit more. And I would just bring in the bottom. So highlight it and just bring this. So Loretta, did you resize the whole thing or did you just resize the top and bottom? I don't see that to fit 3 in there. Okay, my red highlight went away. So now it fits. Okay, so then I can move it over here. And then copy, paste. Yeah, I think I would only fit 2. So 2 in a hoop. So you can do this. And then like watch when you go to file, save. Well, I would color sort it. But let's just see how it looks. All right, file, save stitch file as. And I'm going to save it to my downloads. Border test. Save. Okay, so now when I go to my downloads, I have part 1 of the design and part 2 of the design. So let's see. Let's open part 2. Now she's pretend like she's working in a regular 4x4 hoop. You can see like some things are not going to go all the way. but she'll have, that's a basting stitch. That happens anytime you split a design. But there's her batting placement line. There's her fabric placement line. No, batting tack down. I didn't delete that step. Batting placement, batting tack down. Fabric placement, fabric tack down, quilting. And then she'd do the same thing for the other side. And then when she would open up the other design and move her hoop, you could see where that line starts right there. This one, this is where it would pick up. So you could kind of see it would fill that gap there. And as long as she would just make sure her batting strip just kept going all the way to here. Yeah, it definitely could be done. Everything should line up good. You are going to want to skip that initial placement step, this black box around. That was like a basting stitch. I would skip that and make sure everything, like lay your whole batting piece across here and then trim it once you have this line over here. Okay. Let me know if that's what you did, Loretta. Okay, so she said she did fit 3 in and it looks fine. Yeah, of course. As long as you shrink them all and they all stitch the same, then it doesn't matter. As long as they're all the same, you can change the width to be smaller, and everything will still line up when you trim your strips when you're done. So yeah, you're just going to keep rehooping until you get a length that is long enough. Now, for the outer border is where I see you struggling, but you could, oh, what is wrong with my camera? Sorry, hold on a second, guys. Is my camera plugged in? I had trouble with this camera before we started. Okay, there it goes. Let's see if it works now. There we go. We could, for the outer border, the smallest one is 6 inches wide. So that's where you could just resize that as well. It should all resize fine. I'm going to play with it on my computer and see how it looks. Oh yeah, you can just resize it. Look. This is the 4x7 border, and it's opened in the 4x6 multi-positionable hoop. I would just highlight it. I'm going to hold the shift key down and resize it until it fits. There we go. Now the red box went away, so it fits. So I would do that and then just keep rehooping that over and over again. Just have to make sure, hopefully the spider, when it meets up in the middle, it all aligns good. But yeah, you can do that for your outer border. Okay. All right, I think we are done for the quilting. I'm going to show y'all how this looks, and then that's going to be the end of today's class. And I'm just going to continue working on these borders until I have them all done. And same for you. That's going to be your homework. And then the beginning of next class, we will piece the borders on just like the little demo that I showed you. Let's see if we zoom, if you can. Now you can kind of see the quilting there. So, it depends on the light, but it's very discreet, but it's very cute. So you see the spider, the web, the thread, and I think, oh, the spider's here. Yeah. So it just goes through and then keeps going. And then when we get to hooping the next one, it will meet up right here, and it'll be really hard to tell where one bit of quilting ended and the new one started. So I'll just keep going until I get to the end of this piece. All right. Okay, so I think that is it for today. So thank you so much for those of y'all that are joining me live. If you're watching the replay, I hope this helped you. And if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments. Or you can also message me. I'm on Facebook. We have a great Facebook group, great community where you can go and ask questions, post things in there. But that is it for today. So we're just going to finish. Your homework is to finish all your borders. And then I want you to lay your quilt out and then measure. It tells you to measure in the center. So measure from top to bottom in the center and then from across in the center. And then you can start playing with your border pieces and laying them out, making sure that you actually quilted enough to go the whole length of that section. But next class, we will line things up, do right sides together, we'll stitch this down, and then fold it over and press it. And then once we have the sides on, then we'll measure it, make sure our border piece for the top goes beyond what we need, and we can sew it, and then we can trim things and make sure everything's square. And then we'll move on to the outer borders will be the same way. So that's it for borders. And then put it all together, and it's going to be hard because my craft table is not big enough. But what we're going to do is once we have the borders on, we are going to lay our backing fabric down on a nice big flat surface. And we're going to spray it with temporary spray adhesive, and I'm going to use these like paper clips not paper clips, safety pins to go and pin it in sections. Once we have that all smoothed and pinned, then we will use our regular sewing machine to attach the back to the front by doing the stitch in the ditch method. And this is where we're going to use it's like monofilament, invisible like thread. It almost looks like fishing string. We're going to use that thread, and we're going to go stitch right in between the seams of each block. So you are not going to tell at all anything's changed on the front, but on the back, you are going to see all the same spots where there are seams, where almost all of them. You are going to see that on the back. So I'm just using a piece of plain black cotton fabric for my back, and I will use black bobbin thread, and I'll use the clear invisible thread as my top thread, so you won't see it on the front, and then the back it really will blend in as well. So that's all planned, and that is going to be next Tuesday. So there will be no class this Thursday. I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. And if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I'll be posting stories of any of the quilt shops that I stop at while we're there. And so no class this Thursday. Next Tuesday, we're going to come back and do all this. We're going to get the borders on and the backing on. So that is next Thursday. And next Thursday's class is later in the day because I got to show y'all what I'm making for my VIP class. So I have it scheduled for 12 o'clock. So next Tuesday it will be 12 Central Time. And we'll just get as much done as we can until I have to go get Elise off the bus. at 2:30. So we'll get as far as we can with that. And I'll come back on live if I need to after I get her off the bus, or I can get someone to get her for me. We'll see. But yeah, that's going to be next Tuesday, 12 o'clock. We'll continue. But also next Tuesday, if you are in my VIP membership group, we're having our Zoom class next Tuesday morning. We're going to have it a little bit earlier than usual to accommodate all these things. So 9:30 a.m. Central Time. And we are going to be making this adorable, like, I call it, let me change cameras. I call it an heirloom, like, vintage style ornament. But this is what we're going to be making in our VIP group. And then this is, they get a free design every month. And actually this month they're going to get 2, because they're going to get this in the hoop scalloped ornament shape in several sizes. And you can see the back, how it's all finished. It's all in the hoop. And I added some foam in between to give it some fluff. And everyone's getting a Santa. And I made it come in several sizes. So this is the tiny one I used here, but if people want to stitch a bigger one. So 2 designs this month. You're going to get the scalloped shaped ornament and the Santas. And then I made this leaning, pink for a baby girl. But you can also do blue colors or traditional Christmas colors. Your color scheme can be whatever you want it to be. And I made this ornament to where it comes in bigger sizes as well. So that is for the VIP group next Tuesday. And when this class is over, I'm going to go upload all of that stuff to the VIP member portal, so you can download the design and get the Zoom link and all that good stuff. Elsa has a great question. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I should be using something different, but what I have done in the past is same needle, everything the same. I'm just changing the thread from what I usually use to the invisible thread. So I've done that a few times now. I never had any trouble. But if anyone has a suggestion of a better needle size, I'm still using my 7511 that I pretty much always keep on my machine. Okay. And the link for the invisible thread is on the homepage for the sew along, which is on my website, carlybell.com. Okay. All right. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for those of y'all who joined me. I know this was another long class. They are tending to be very long. These last few ones are going to be a bit longer too, especially, we're doing all this real time live and putting it all together. And we're still not done with the borders. I still need to probably spend another hour or 2 getting them all done. But that's it for today. I will see y'all next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your day and week. And also Sip and Stitch is next Friday too. I'll tell you more about that next week. Bye everyone.